Clint Eastwood visits a hospital to make a donation, but what he discovers will shock everyone. It was an afternoon of light and steady rain, and the hospital seemed like a reflection of the storm outside. The sound of raindrops hitting the windows mixed with the muffled noise of the crowded hallways. At the reception, nurses hurried back and forth, patients crowded in chairs, and doctors rushed through the corridors, oblivious to the anxiety and waiting on the faces of those present. Clint Eastwood, in his 80s, with a serene expression, entered the hospital with the demeanor of a man who had seen enough to understand what truly matters. He was no longer the Hollywood star everyone expected to see, but rather a man of experience, with the wrinkles of time marking his wisdom. However, as he crossed the door, no one knew that a simple visit would change the course of a life there. Clint wasn't there for a simple charity event or a public appearance. He was on a much deeper mission, something he had always known: that true help doesn't come from what you do with money, but from what you do with your heart. Little did he know at that moment, his presence in that hospital would become the catalyst for something huge. Clint wasn't a man of many words, but he felt good when he could help in a quiet, discreet way. After a brief conversation with some nurses and a significant donation to the hospital's charity, he made his way down the hallways, where he encountered a familiar yet unwelcoming face: Dr. James Heller, a respected neurosurgeon, but known for his cold and impersonal attitude. Heller stood next to a group of nurses, speaking curtly about the day's procedures. The way he referred to the patients as if they were just cases to be dealt with didn't go unnoticed by Clint. The doctor appeared distant, even cruel, towards those in his care. Clint knew what it was like to carry the weight of both professional and personal life. He had faced pain and loss himself, but he knew none of that justified treating others with a lack of empathy. Determined to learn more about Heller and perhaps offer help in some way, Clint followed the doctor down a short stretch of the hospital hallway. That's when they came across an elderly patient, Mrs. Alice, who had just undergone a delicate surgery and was awaiting the results. She was alone, her trembling hands clutching a piece of fabric while she stared intently at the clock, as if the waiting itself was a punishment. When Dr. Heller entered the room, he didn't meet her gaze. He simply said in an almost monotone voice, "The surgery went well, but the situation is still critical. You need to rest now. I'll be back soon." Mrs. Alice looked at him, trying to find some response in his eyes, but there was nothing but coldness. Clint, who had been observing from a distance, felt the weight of those unspoken words, the discomfort of a woman who just wanted to be seen, heard. He couldn't help but approach. As Clint passed by Heller in the hallway, he decided to start a conversation. "You know, Dr. Heller," he began in his calm voice, "sometimes words can be just as powerful as surgeries. A patient needs much more than physical treatment. They need comfort, trust." Heller looked at him, unsure how to respond. It wasn't common for anyone to dare speak to him like that. Clint continued, "I understand the pressure you're under. I've been in tough situations too. Life's never been easy, and it never will be. But have you ever wondered what really makes a difference in a patient's life? It's not how much you know, but how you make them feel." Heller remained silent, clearly uncomfortable. He had always been a closed-off man, used to solving everything with the precision of medicine, leaving no room for emotions or vulnerabilities. "We're not here to make friends," he responded gruffly. "We're here to save lives." "Saving lives is important," Clint agreed, "but saving hearts is equally crucial. What would you do if you were one of your patients? How would you want to be treated?" Heller shook his head, trying to avoid the impact of those words. But the truth, like a sharp blade, cut through his defenses. He turned and began to walk toward his next consultation, but Clint didn't give up. It's never too late to change, you know. Sometimes we just need to learn to see people in a different way. In the following days, something seemed different about Dr. Heller. He began to approach patients not just with technical words, but with a more attentive, more human gaze. He would sit by their bedsides, ask how they were feeling, and listen to their stories. There was a subtle change in his posture, something that had once seemed impossible for him. One of the patients, a young woman named Sarah, who was undergoing aggressive cancer treatment, noticed the difference. She commented to a nurse, "Dr. Heller. He's not the same anymore. He cares now. He really listens." Clint, who continued his visits to the hospital, noticed the transformation as well. He saw Dr. Heller talking to a patient who was visibly emotional. They exchanged words that seemed more meaningful, more profound. What had once been impersonal and distant was now real and affectionate. One day, Heller approached Clint. You were right," he said, his voice softer now. "I used to believe that medicine was everything, but now I see that what truly matters is how you treat people, how you touch their lives." Clint smiled, a quiet smile, but one full of understanding. "It's never too late to learn, Dr. Heller, and it's never too late to change." Clint Eastwood's story at the hospital wasn't just marked as the visit of a great star, but as the day when a doctor who had lost faith in humanity found his true calling, to treat not just the bodies, but the hearts. Clint Eastwood, with his silent and deep wisdom, had unknowingly done more than save a life. He restored the soul of a man who had lost his way in the path of his profession. And the hospital was never the same. With Heller now more empathetic, he became one of the most beloved and respected doctors in the institution. But, more importantly, he began to treat each patient as a human being, with dignity and care. And that, more than anything else, was the true healing. If you enjoyed today's story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more incredible stories like this one.